These are some of the strangest TikToks. I'm going to be taking a look at them today in this video.
He went missing at the age of 9 but was found 6 years later because of this show on Netflix. In 2017, Ryan was granted full custody of his daughter, 9-year-old Kayla Unbehan, but Kayla was later kidnapped by her own mother during a visit in July of that year. Kayla's mother, Heather, completely went off the grid and no one could locate both of them.
Archaeologists have discovered the remains of 2 new individuals at Pompeii, except they weren't killed by the eruption. The 2 men, believed to be in their mid-50s, were discovered in the storeroom of a Roman apartment block called an insula. Now, if these men weren't killed by the volcanic eruption, then what were they killed by?
Okay, so if you're into true crime and you haven't heard of this guy, well, be ready to get disturbed. This is Elbert Fish, and he was a child serial killer and cannibal who lived in the United States during the early 1900s. He was born in 1870 and was also known as the Gray Man, the Werewolf of Wisteria, and the Brooklyn Vampire.
The Simpsons once again prophesied some crazy things. The Simpsons have made some alarming predictions about the year 2024.
I'm back, it's your boy Fittie to the E, and today we're going to be looking at this compilation together, so grab your water, your popcorn, whatever you want. If you like the chains, check the link down below. They're going like crazy right now. A lot of people are buying them. We have some good reviews. Click the link down below and use FIT10 for 10% off.
This guy's house might be extremely haunted.
Alright, tell me I'm on fucking crack. Every time I turn off the light, there's like a shadow in there. Watch. See that? What the fuck? What the fuck? Tell me I'm not on fucking crack, dude. Hell no. What the fuck, dude? I'm out of here. Nah.
What do you think? Could that be a spirit, or is this guy just tripping? Let me know in the comments below.
I know that certain things can reflect onto the wall most when you turn off the light, so I feel like it might just be a reflection.
If you see a skinwalker's face, they have to kill you if you don't know who they are to keep you from finding out. We'll discuss that later. They can blow corpse powder into your face. It's deadly. Your tongue turns black, and you'll have convulsions until you're dead. They eat human flesh. There's many ways they can kill you.
Do y'all believe in skinwalkers? Because I know we hear a lot about skinwalkers, but I don't really know if that's even real. Leave your thoughts about that in the comments.
The Simpsons don't predict the future. They control it. Did you know that Matt Groening, the creator of Simpsons, could be a member of the Freemasons? The Freemasons are a society that has been the subject of many conspiracy theories over time. Many believe that this group has the power to influence the world and everything that happens in it. To start with, many characters in The Simpsons have names that are linked to Freemasonry. For example, the character of Homer is named after the ancient Greek poet Homer. He wrote about the Trojan War. In Freemasonry, the Trojan War is a symbol of struggle between good and evil. Furthermore, there are several references to Freemasonry. Various episodes of The Simpsons, for instance, in one episode, Homer becomes a member of a secret society called the Stonecutters, which is clearly parody of Freemasons. Finally, Groening himself has admitted that he's fascinated by secret societies and conspiracy theories.
I know there's a lot of Simpsons prediction out there. What do you guys think about Simpsons predictions?
He must have been out of her head.
So like I said previously, there's a lot of skinwalker talk. I don't even know if skinwalkers are even like that for real.
Have you ever heard of Paulette Jabera Farah? Paulette was born in 2005 in Mexico City. She was born 25 weeks early, and so since she was so early, this did leave her with some mental delays. And if that's not the proper way of saying it, please educate me down in the comments. Paulette was born into a very wealthy family. The family lived in a very nice apartment in Mexico City that had cameras everywhere. They had a driver and they had several nannies and maids that would help them keep the house going. The family also had a vacation home that was about 2 hours away, and they would spend most of their weekends at this vacation home. One weekend in March of 2010, it was no different. The family went to their vacation home for the weekend and then came home when the weekend was done. They put their kids to bed, and the next morning was March 22nd of 2010. The nanny came into Paulette's room that morning to get her ready for school, but she couldn't find Paulette anywhere. She walked into the parents' room to see if maybe Paulette had gone to sleep with her parents during the night, but Paulette wasn't in her parents' room either. The family and their nannies started searching the apartment frantically looking for Paulette, but she was absolutely nowhere to be found, so they eventually called police thinking maybe Paulette had been kidnapped. A massive search ensued looking for Paulette everywhere, but they couldn't find her. Friends and family came into town to help look for Paulette, but there was no sign of her. Police even went through security tapes from the apartment, but they realized that nobody had left the building at all the night that Paulette went missing. One of Paulette's aunts even came into town and spent the night on Paulette's bed. And nannies were continuing to do their daily jobs. They would make the beds daily, still do all the laundry, like everything was still going on in the house. And Paulette's bed was actively being made every single day. This is important later. Police decided to use cadaver dogs in Paulette's room, but found, again, nothing. The dogs led them nowhere. Paulette's family started doing TV interviews and started begging anyone with any information to come forward. They even raised a lot of money to give as a ransom. But still, no one would come forward about the whereabouts of Paulette.
Stop what you're doing, there is more breaking news in archaeology. Archaeologists have discovered the remains of 2 new individuals at Pompeii, except they weren't killed by the eruption. The 2 men, believed to be in their mid-50s, were discovered in the storeroom of a Roman apartment block called an insula. Now, if these men weren't killed by the volcanic eruption, then what were they killed by? Before Mount Vesuvius erupted, the area had been plagued with earthquakes. The most significant of these was in AD 62, during which many temples and important buildings were destroyed. At the time of the volcanic eruption in 79 AD, building works were still ongoing to repair the damage. It was during one of these earthquakes, close to the time of the eruption, that these men sought refuge in the building, and unfortunately, the wall collapsed upon them. One of the men had his arm raised in a futile attempt to protect himself, and both suffered numerous injuries, including fractures. One of the men was found wearing a ring on his left hand, and alongside them they found beads and 6 coins, 2 of which dated to the 2nd century BC. Now, this isn't a surprise because coins were in circulation for decades and even centuries in the ancient world. Currently, only 2/3 of Pompeii have been excavated, so as you can see, there is so much more to find.
Damn, Mother Nature must not like Pompeii. It had an earthquake, a volcanic eruption, like, god damn.
Remember this. They're raps, we do.
I could honestly see that being real in our present civilization, I'm not gonna lie.
So why was that no one ever dies at Disney? Like, even if something horrible happens, they get the person off the park so they can always say that no one's ever died there. But then I found out not only is that not true, but a law firm has compiled all of the incidents. I'm going to share a few of them with you, but if you're interested in stories like this, make sure you follow the podcast because tonight's episode's just going to be these stories. So 2 of the park's worst accidents have both happened on the Matterhorn ride. One of them being a woman named Dolly, who in 1984 fell off of one of the back of the sleds onto the rails.
Wow.
At the time, these gondolas used to go into the rides, and so there was actually a family that watched her fall off onto the track. And so the family also saw as there was another car racing towards Dolly. The dad actually screamed at his daughters to cover their eyes, which was for the best because Dolly got hit hard. She got hit so hard that when EMTs arrived on the scene and were going up into the ride, there were park attendants coming down telling them not to look. And so finally, when someone was looking at the car she was in, they noticed that her seatbelt was unbuckled.
This is usually why people have like a fear of rides when they go somewhere.
Billy and Emily were home alone when the house lights flickered and went out. Suddenly, they heard an unfamiliar creaking sound. The doorknob rattled violently before falling silent. Emily called 911, her voice a trembling whisper. Billy armed himself with a baseball bat. But every room they entered, they could feel a presence, like an icy touch on the back of their necks. Their family photos were rearranged, their faces crossed out. But when the police arrived, they found no signs of forced entry, so the officers left. The children knew that they were not alone in their own house.
Kurwa. On se přibližil. OK, jdu do prdela. OK, jdu do piči. Oh God. To, co začalo před pár sekundama, nevím, co to může být, odchází to zase o tom teď. Ale hrozí nás. Pořád mě to pronásleduje.
See, that's what I mean with the skinwalkers. It's like how do we know it's a skinwalker? It could have been an animal that's getting hurt. Could be an animal that's already hurt. Could just be some random buffoons just screaming in the woods. I have a couple of friends, we go in the woods, they just scream for no reason.
What was weird about Antarctica? There's nothing there. So if you want to go see the emperor penguins or all of the wildlife that is available, you can't go to the interior of Antarctica, which is where we were. It's a full-on camp, fully set up, like library, indoor packing area for us to do our parachutes, bathrooms, showers, really nice tents. It's fully established. There's a blue ice runway. We flew in on a 757. What's a blue ice runway? The runway you land on is straight fucking ice. It's crazy.
Holy shit, you just land on ice?
Straight up blue ice. Those are the tents we were staying in right there. That one that's hovering over there, those are the kind of tents that we were staying in. Underneath that jacket is a t-shirt. And I'm wearing the long sleeve because I didn't want exposure to the sun. And that's what, like wrapping your face too. Like the sun down there will absolutely nuke you.
Really?
Yeah. And this is probably like, I don't know, this could be fucking 3 a.m. The sun just never goes down.
How much food do they have up there?
As much as you could possibly want. They had a full like dining facility. The setup there is unbelievable.
Then they never have any wildlife up there ever?
There's millions upon millions of penguins, but there's no food source in the interior.
Man, he just said there's millions and millions of penguins and no food. But how do the penguins eat food?
The fact that this story is true makes it that much more terrifying. A young mom was walking down a dark street with her 2 kids. As they stroll along, a stranger approaches them and starts talking about their Christmas plans. Well, this is where things turn creepy. Something didn't feel right to the mom, so she picked up her pace. But the man kept asking about their house. And when they were only 10 houses away, he asked a even more horrifying question. Is your dad home? That night, the dad was actually away at a conference, and the little sister quickly told the man that he was not. And when they reached the front yard, the man rushed towards their door, speaking in a creepy but sweet voice, asking, "Can I see the decorations?" The mom locked the door, feeling him push from the other side. They could still hear the man pacing and knocking outside. The mom called her husband, who immediately rushed home, but when he got there, the man was gone.
Part 2 of the Sleepwalking murder story. As I said, friends and families were completely shocked. Scott and Yarm had been married for 20 years in a seemingly perfect marriage. The kids said that they never fought. Family and friends said that they never complained about each other. Even when Yarm's friends were like saying like, "Oh, my husband's so annoying," she would never join in. She would always say like, "He's a really good guy." There were no financial issues. There was no affair going on. So what happened? January 16th, 1997, the day it happened, was a completely normal day. Scott was a little stressed from his job and all his responsibilities, but he was still treating everyone as normal and acting normal. That evening, he was pretty tired, and Yarm asked him to fix the pool filter. It was around 9 p.m. at this time. He was tired, but he went anyways. He fiddled with it for about 30 minutes, and it wasn't working. He was getting frustrated, and he was like, "You know what? I'll do it tomorrow." We've all been there. Yarm is watching a show on the couch at this point. It's around 9:30. He passes her, and he's like, "I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm going to bed." And she was like, "Okay." So how did she end up dead in the pool an hour later? The whole interrogation tape is very strange. Scott is clearly completely confused. He has no idea what's going on. And he says, like, is she dead? And they're like, yes. And he goes, oh, you think I did it? And they're like, we know you did it. We have a witness who saw you do it. And remember the super pristine white pajama top? Well, they realized he had blood on his neck. Here's that clip.
I didn't know there was blood on me. I'm sorry, I didn't know there was blood on me.
He has no idea there's blood on him. Or does he? Is he faking it? I don't know. If he was faking it, I mean, he fooled a lot of people. His family, friends, her family, Yarm's family were like, what? He would not do this. And they weren't even, what? Everyone's confused. There's zero motive to this crime. That's when his family remembered that he always used to sleepwalk. Until the day he left the house, he was sleepwalking. There was a few specific instances where he got somewhat violent when they tried to wake him up, which is normal with sleepwalkers. I don't mean like murder violent, I mean like shoving you aside, you know? As a kid, Scott would sleepwalk and fully get dressed for school, get ready, and stand at the door. And his parents would be like, what are you doing? And he'd be like, where am I? What? So he was known for quite severe sleepwalking. His defense team thought maybe he started sleepwalking and thought, I'll go fix the pool now. And he was passing Yarm, who was asleep on the couch, and something happened. She tried to wake him up and it went wrong. But then police found a box of Tupperware in his car with bloody clothes and the murder weapon.
Damn, bro. Bro was moving crazy. Yo, I'm trying to figure out, like, when you really sleepwalk, how do you get... She said he sleptwalked and got dressed for school. How does that happen? Like, if you really know, put that down in the comments. Because I'm thinking, like, if you're sleepwalking, your eyes are closed, how can you get fully dressed? How do you murder someone? How do you walk to the pool without falling or getting hurt? Like, I need some answers.
Believe it or not, this is America's youngest murderer. This is Carl Mahan, and he was just 6 years old when the whole thing happened. Now this story takes us back to 1929, and it all went down in a small town in Kentucky. So Carl and another young boy named Cecil, who was 8 years old, were spending the day looking for scrap metal. The entire point of this was to collect as much scrap as possible to gain some extra money. Unfortunately for Carl, Cecil ended up finding a really good piece of scrap metal. This was said to have made Carl quite upset and jealous. Carl then apparently grabbed the scrap metal from Cecil and slapped him across the face. Carl then proceeded to run back home in tears. When Carl got home, he immediately ran towards his father's shotgun and grabbed it. He then ran back all the way to where Cecil was and started yelling, "I'm going to shoot you." And that's when little 6-year-old Carl pulled the trigger and unfortunately took Cecil's life. And just 7 days later, Carl went on trial, but because of his young age, he had a really hard time making throughout each day. There were reports that he was falling asleep on his lawyer's table multiple times. At the end of the trial, the jury deliberated for only 30 minutes before coming back with a verdict of guilty, but it was for manslaughter. The judge then sentenced Carl to 15 years of reform school and released him on a $500 bail. Immediately, there was a split between the public. Many people believed that the punishment was way too severe for a 6-year-old, while the other half believed that it was not severe enough. After all, he did take the life of another little boy. And because of all of this, his family ended up appealing the original verdict. And just 8 months later, the original verdict was overturned, essentially meaning that Carl was now a free boy and able to go live with his parents again. And after that, not much is known about what happened to Carl. The only thing we do know is that he moved to Jefferson County and he ended up passing away at the young age of 35.
Damn.
And if you guys want more crime, creepy, and unbelievable stories, check out my YouTube for longer videos. The link is in my bio.
35 is still a young age, but what do they mean by the punishment was too light? Bro, I understand he's 6 years old and he doesn't know what he's doing, but he still took the life of someone else. To me, that's crazy. I don't know why his dad just had the shotgun just out laying there for his son to just go pick up and shoot someone with. So if anything, I feel like the blame should mostly be on the parents compared to the actual 6-year-old.
What would you do if you saw this run through your backyard?
That's my backyard. Zoom it in a little bit. This is the exact spot that I just...
If I'm being honest, if I saw it run through the back of my yard, I'm shooting it. Shooting it, you know, pretty much it. Nothing else to do.
Okay, so if you're into true crime and you haven't heard of this guy, well, be ready to get disturbed. This is Elbert Fish, and he was a child serial killer and cannibal who lived in the United States during the early 1900s. He was born in 1870 and was also known as the Gray Man, the Werewolf of Wisteria, and the Brooklyn Vampire. Elbert Fish committed a number of crimes over the course of several decades, including assault, molestation, and murder. However, his most notorious crimes were the murders of at least 3 children. In 1928, Fish saw an advertisement in the newspaper seeking a young man to work on a farm. He responded to the ad, but when he arrived at the farm, he found that the job did not exist. Instead, Fish met 10-year-old Grace Budd, who had been lured to the farm by Fish's false advertisement. Elbert Fish convinced Grace's family that he was a reputable businessman, and he gained their trust enough to convince them to let him take Grace to a party. Elbert Fish then took Grace to an abandoned cottage in the woods where he proceeded to torture and kill her. He later admitted to drinking her blood and eating parts of her body. In 1934, Elbert Fish sent a letter to Grace's mother in which he described in graphic detail how he killed and ate Grace. The letter was traced back to Fish, and he was eventually arrested. Elbert Fish confessed to the murder of Grace Budd as well as the murders of 2 other children, Francis McDonald and Billy Gaffney. He also admitted to molesting over 100 children. Fish was found guilty of murder and was sentenced to death by electrocution. He was executed on January 16, 1936.
You gotta be one twisted person to do something like that, bro. That's so disgusting, bro.
Things that bother you, they never bother me. I feel happy and fine. Living in someone's loving in the moonlight.
That was definitely someone's face, guaranteed.
Japanese yokai, Kagewani, the shadow shark. Kagewani are large predatory fish. They lurk under the surface of the water, waiting for human shadow to fall upon the water. The Kagewani will eat that person's shadow in a single gulp. When the shadow is eaten, the owner vanishes as well, never to be seen again. The word wani today means crocodile. Originally, it was referred to any kind of sea monster. In folklore, sharks, large fish, and even dragons are also called wani.
That's actually kind of crazy. I feel like Japanese folklore is some of the craziest stuff, because if you guys ever watch anime, you already know it's really crazy. So I feel like their myths and urban legends are also on that same level of craziness as their animes.
The Simpsons once again prophesied some crazy things. The Simpsons have made some alarming predictions about the year 2024. In a 1998 episode called Bart to the Future, the show hinted at an economic crisis, nuclear war, and the death of the US president all occurring in the same year. The episode shows Lisa Simpson as the future president. In a scene with her advisors, Lisa mentions the budget problems and mess left by the previous administration led by President Biden. A news report in the episode then describes a nuclear conflict with an unspecified country, resulting in massive destruction. The idea of nuclear war and economic turmoil is understandably frightening. However, one can hope these predictions do not come true. Still, The Simpsons have predicted major real-world events accurately in the past. This leads to wondering what else they may have foreseen. In fact, a more recent Simpsons episode contains an even more terrifying prediction than anything before. Do you want to find out about this new prediction in part 2?
I'm hoping this 2024 prediction does not end like that, because I want 2024 to be a good year for me and a good year for everyone watching. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's not attract any negative energy to 2024. All positivity, all 2024 for me, you, a lot of blessings for all of us.
Have you ever seen The Exorcist?
Yeah.
That's a top tier classic horror movie. Yeah. But did you know that it's actually based on a real story? So it's based on a case that happened in 1949. The kid's name was Roland Doe. So the story goes that the family had recently lost a loved one, and he was really sad about it. So he started getting interested in communicating with the dead. So he got a Ouija board.
Oh my God.
He started messing around with the Ouija board, and then the family started noticing strange things happening around the house. They started noticing like little things being moved around the house, sounds in the walls, and they noticed that Roland was acting a little strange, to the point that he started speaking in languages he had never learned, and he started to exhibiting superhuman strength.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just going off the research
Okay.
that I did.
All right.
It was crazy.
This is terrifying.
Yeah. A priest came to try to exorcise the boy. His name was
Right.
Father Bowdern. And the exorcism actually took several weeks.
They usually take a very long time. The
It's like
Catholic
kinda like-
Church is so like selective over like what
counts as a true exorcism.
Yes.
You heard of the elevator game? The elevator game is a supernatural game that's meant to take you to another dimension. If you want to know more about the elevator game, please listen to my new podcast episode. Yes, I said podcast. I know you guys have all been waiting for it, and the Shades of Sinister podcast is finally here. You can stream it now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible. Just click the link in my bio and then click the podcast link and pick whatever platform that suits you best.
I mean, she didn't explain much about the elevator game, but I did my research and I did check into what it is. And just know, I don't know where she got that the elevator game would put you in a different dimension, because it definitely does not put you in a different dimension. What it actually does is keep you in this dimension, but it might switch you to another universe where every time you go up and down the elevator thing, if you get out at any floor that's not the lobby, you have a chance of getting hurt. Me personally, I'm not playing that though.
Scary TikTok videos part 70. Stay behind me. Oh shit. Come on.
A dog's sense of smell ranges so far that it can know when anything is around that corner, or if anything's like a little bit off in the distance by their smell senses. That's pretty cool. So if the dog was chilling, honestly, there's probably nothing there. That guy was probably just bugging and just anxious.
He went missing at the age of 9 but was found 6 years later because of this show on Netflix. In 2017, Ryan was granted full custody of his daughter, 9-year-old Kayla Unbehan, but Kayla was later kidnapped by her own mother during a visit in July of that year. Kayla's mother, Heather, completely went off the grid and no one could locate both of them. Until 6 years later, on May 13th of this year, Kayla was recognized by a store worker at Plato's Closet. This happened in Asheville, North Carolina, when this worker apparently watched an episode of Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix only a few days before. Kayla's story was featured on Netflix only less than a year ago, and these were some of the images that were sketched of her before and her potential after. Kayla's mother was arrested and faces child abduction charges.
This woman accidentally helped a young girl get kidnapped. There was a girl named Amy who was at the grocery store one day when a little girl came over to her. Amy looked at her and smiled and said, "Where's your parents?" The girl didn't answer, so Amy grabbed her hand and looked for her parents. They looked around the store for a couple minutes together when Amy suddenly saw a man waving her down. He then walked over and said, "Thank God you found my daughter. I've been looking everywhere for her." Amy said of course, and the man then smiled, picked up his daughter, and walked away. Later that night, Amy was watching the news when she saw a young girl got kidnapped and is missing. They then showed the picture of the young girl and Amy's stomach dropped. It was the young girl from the store. Amy began to cry as she realized she handed This might be the most disturbing video on the internet. Okay, so apparently the backstory behind it is that a man killed his girlfriend and then made an AI bot and then dresses it up with the clothes of his dead girlfriend. He also shows where he buries his real girlfriend's body. But I'm gonna show you the video first, then fantastic. And there are two main theories behind this video. One being it's a serial killer who would murder his victims and then take them to his cabin or trailer home in the woods, and then dress his android up in their clothes and make these videos. And in the video I just showed you, he just did it to his girlfriend. The other theory is that it's just some lonely dude who just owns this android and is working on it to get it better at singing and just talking. But I don't know, there's something just sinister and creepy about this video. And why did he zoom into a pile of dirt and leaves in his backyard? That's where people believe he murdered and
yeah, that is really strange. I don't know. People have their own interests. So I couldn't tell you. Maybe that guy did do all that.
Scary facts that will make your skin crawl. Chimps don't attack to kill. Instead, they aim for the genitals, face, and fingers and will leave the opponent alive. There have been many people who have owned chimps who have turned on their owners and left them incredibly disfigured. One case, the chimp ripped a man's junk off. In all cases, faces were mutilated and fingers were chewed off. It's pretty much how they instinctively fight in the wild. So if you think that chimp is going to be a cute pet, better think twice. Even if you raised it since it was born, they'll turn on you at any second. A disfigurement roulette waiting to happen.
Like, let's be real. Like, I always wanted a chimp as a pet, but like, why are you trying to kill me, bro? I'm trying to just take care of you.
This is how you spot a skinwalker. On May 6th of 2020, a YouTube channel by the name Gemini Home Entertainment uploaded a survival video. And it was pretty basic, until it started to demonstrate the dangers of nature, calling one specifically an auditory hallucination. You can see someone camping, when all of a sudden, they begin recording what seems like a man calling out for help. But if you take a closer look, there's definitely something off about this guy. To this, the video says, don't approach it. If you hear it, they have already heard you.
Okay, that was an interesting video. It's kind of strange because sometimes you hear people screaming help. You don't know. Maybe that guy could have got like his ankle hurt. I don't know. That's what I'm talking about, these skinwalker things, man. Like, maybe that could have been a real guy actually just in pain. But we're so programmed to think, oh, that might be a skinwalker. Let's not help the dude. So I don't know. Look a bit confusing. But anyways, thank you guys for watching and experiencing these compilations with me. Remember that these chains are up for sale on the website. You can use FIT10 for 10% off. Promise you they're good chains. We have a lot of good reviews. Let's just aim for 500 likes this video. If you like the video, please like the video, subscribe. Catch y'all in the next one. Peace out, boys.